Good morning and welcome to Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast. All about your feelings, all about your challenges, and all about your emotions that you have experienced. I'd like to say first off that we have a new number for all of our locals. I'm going to repeat this number, and this number is for you guys to call in. You want to call in, you want to talk about, you want to leave a comment or question. The number here for our Southern California, Northern California, and anywhere that is local to you. The number is 661 406 8419. That is our direct connect number. Direct connect. And it's interactive, so you all may call in during, before, and after. And you can leave a voicemail, and we will play back for you. Welcome to Finally Friday. Good morning to everyone. We also want to make mention of our toll-free number. Okay, our toll-free number is as follows. For those of you outside of California, we always have you in mind as well. And so, here we are. 1-888-721-9260. That's our toll-free direct connect. You also can listen live when we're live. If you are following us, good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for just being here. I want very much to say thank you to my amazing co-host. Thank you for all that you continue to do. You are amazing. Thank you. We are never too big to not. We are never too big to apologize. Are we not? Those are all things. What does it take to make someone feel amazing? What does it take for someone to feel forgiveness? And I want to put that out there because you guys are listening. We see you, and we know that you tune into us. We want you to be able to find someone that is amazing. We want you to be able to apologize. Because some of us say we've done nothing. It's okay to apologize because those are feelings too. What we want is to exchange today the emotion of saying to someone that you know, thank you. And if it's your family members, family always comes first in some people's lives. Thank those around you. Can we get out outside of the box and maybe say thank you to someone today that may open a door for you, or those that may do something just because. Doing something just because. Let's think about that. How many of us find that a challenge? Good morning, Trish.
Good morning.
When we think about doing something just because, what are you doing? What have you challenged yourself to do just because? We want you guys to call in. We want you guys to be able to tell us to do something just because. I get that a lot in life. I cannot tell you how many people have done something just because. Just because can be a form of paying it forward. I get a lot of that. And I oftentimes wonder why at that moment did that just happen. You know, because sometimes our mood, our experience, our emotions, they vary from uh, day to day. I mean, if we could count the emotions that we go through from day to day for 7 days, we have went through a lot of emotions. But I want you to think about how many things people have done for you just because. If you say that you've experienced the emotion of not feeling that at all, why don't you initiate yourself to do something for someone just because? Have you gathered that this podcast is going to be titled Just Because? We need that in the times that we're living in. You know, people have special days that they particularly pay attention to. And that's a choice. But they're going to do something just because on your special day. But every day is a day to find and do things just. Ever looked at a person's face when you have done something just because? It is the sweetest moment to do something just because. You know, a lot of people are challenged with acting foolish just because. A lot of people do horrible things just because. A real life story. You know what happens on Fridays, and I'm coming at you real and raw. There was a man who got into an Uber and he stated after stabbing to death a woman, the Uber driver, when they interrogated him, he said he did that just because. Now think about that. In the mind of that person, we normally would not think to do that, but he did that. Can we challenge ourselves to flip the script and do kindness and act of kindness? Yes. How many times have we surprised someone or How many times have we smiled at someone? You don't even have to know them, just because. Have you experienced that, Trish?
Yes, I have.
And what was your emotion, experience, and your feelings experience about that?
It made me feel it made me feel good, but at the same time, it's like a compliment. When somebody gives you a compliment and you're wondering how to take that, that's how I took it. I take a lot of just because gifts and gestures towards me kind of awkwardly. Sometimes I don't know how to take it, but it makes me feel good. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a feel good, isn't it? So we want you guys to feel good. I have in my lifetime thought about all the just because. I've had that in my life so many times. You don't need a reason, ladies and gentlemen, to do something. And you know me, I'm always going to look at it from both sides of the fence. You, you know, when we think about all the fires in California that have happened, maybe some disasters have happened in your time or town, and you've done something just because you've donated water or you've donated um, whatever to help. I was looking the other day and I saw that they were feeding all the firemen, all the firemen. And you know what? A lot of those firemen did not feel like it was just a job. They were on a race for life to save houses and to save life. So what they've done, okay, and the acts of just becauses, that was a reason, but every day we need to think about others. Before that fire happened, I always think about the firefighters and what they have to go through, rescuing babies, pets, disabled, elderly, men, women, children, people of all statuses of life, because they're trying to save lives. They don't think about the time, the hour they just run into. I want you guys to really think about what people do just because. We want you to think about being driven to do something just because. Sometimes people are struggling with life. We want to give you a reason. We want to challenge you today because maybe you're getting out of bed just because is not an easy thing to do. And so we have Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast and Vibe Talk Healing Center that is currently open because we realize. So we want you to be able to, just because, know that there is help. People want help all over. Even if you didn't live in the state of California, as my co-host does not live in California but was deeply affected by the fires just because she is human. So how do you guys feel about doing something or challenging yourself to do something just because? See, in our world of real raw humanity, is our heart drawn to do something just because? Why does there always have to be a reason that we're going to do something good? How much do you appreciate doing something just because you want to show appreciation? You want to tell someone thank you. You want to say I love you. You want to say I'm grateful. See, we do that with our parents. Our parents teach us gratefulness, thankfulness. But let's look back. When did you last do something just because? Can you recall that into your mind? Can you do something? Because you know what a lot of people do? What can I do? And when you start to ask that, I've really been thinking about this. What can you do? Do what your heart moves you to do. Nothing attached to that. Everybody got that? Come a little closer. Do what your heart moves you to do. Sometimes we wait to see if other people are going to react, respond, or do something just because. And sometimes we're motivated just because they did it, so now I have to do it. See, we don't want you to be those kind of people. We want you to reach out, reach in, reach out, just because. Just because. Everything in life has to have a purpose, right? So when you think about it, doing something just because can be purposeful, can be fulfilling, does feel good, right? We're all into feeling good and well, positive, motivating, and we're having this conversation just because. It's not tied to anything. It's acting, if you will. Acting because you felt the need to do something. When we think about doing something, what are we doing? Remember how I asked you to think about the last time that you did something just because? Nobody had to ask you to do it. You did it. Because some of us want to do things for, and I'm going to be raw and real with all of you. No fakery here. We do things for others to see, for others to take notice, for others. There are people like that. And if you're one of those people, I want to talk to you for just a second. There's no judgment, but think about that. Would it have been more beneficial for you to do something without getting recognized for what you've done? There's a lot of people out there. There was somebody that wrote $1 million check $1 million. Think about that. I don't think I've had that in a lifetime. But I'll tell you this. They did that just because. Nobody has to know. Because you see what people do, they start to be aware of people. And that's all good. But the person who actually wrote the check for $1 million to help those or help the community to start to heal, they didn't go out and make a speech and say, hey, guess what? I wrote $1 million check. What do we call that when people do that? Trish, do you know?
Charity?
We call it bragging. When people say, hey, guess what I did? No one has to know you did it. But you see, the people do that. And that person did that willingly. Was there a reason? Yeah. They didn't have to. $1 million. Think about how many people that could feed. And I am so proud of that person. I bet you're wondering who it is. Because, see, we are always trying to name drop people. I think if that person wanted me to name drop, they would have name dropped that they did that. However, it got out, but they never said that to the public because that would be all over. They were so moved by what has happened in the California fires, and yet their house was still standing. But their hearts moved them to act for a cause. Do you have to be rich to give? Do you have to be rich to participate? No. Because there's examples for us in ancient times. And for those of you who are reading your Bibles, you remember the woman that had the coins of less value? That's been written for us so many years later. What can we learn from that? She gave her all. Remember the widow? Right before then, it says, who observed it? Jesus. Imagine how he felt for that woman, the widow, dropped in those coins. What does that mean to you for those of you who are spiritually minded? Think about that. She didn't have much. That coin that she had made, she probably made it from working all day long. But yet, Jesus, the greatest man who ever lived, witnessed that. We gave you two examples, and they're really challenging because one had a lot of money. And I really believe that the first one gave her all, or their all too. $1 million is a lot of money. Because I don't have $1 million. Do you, Trish?
No.
Okay. So they wrote that out and gave it or contributed it towards whatever was needed. Now, the woman in Jesus' time, the widow, dropped that coin in. Maybe she didn't have much food. Maybe she had a living space that you or I wouldn't want to live in. But she was thinking of others. And yes, we are going to get very spiritual because so many of us are walking around and we hear of things, we see of things, and we start picking and choosing who we're going to help. Are you challenged by who it is that you're going to help? Because everything doesn't have to be about money. Trish and I always talk about donations. When we're asking for donations, that doesn't have to mean in money, monetizing, because everybody's so hung up on that, right? But think about it. It could mean that you're going to drop off snacks, or you're going to drop off water, or you're going to drop off a chair. We are people that do just the opposite of what today's game is on the internet. We speak and judge. I don't know where that game came from, but it needs to go back to where it is. And yet you're all challenging yourself. How does the game go, Trish?
I think it goes, we listen and we don't judge.
Yeah, yeah, that part. You're listening, but are you really like that? You're listening and you judge and you start picking apart who you're going to help. Hasn't happened to us yet. Why am I doing this? Just because we think of life's challenges, right? Whomever we help, we help. Whomever we decide we don't want to help. Stop the prejudging. Stop the listening and then judging. You know, sometimes people are on the street, and I have been called to either help someone or not. Here's what I choose to do because I work so hard. I always ask the person, are you hungry? If they ask me, I always say, are you hungry? Because I don't want anybody to be hungry. There's no reason for it. I don't know what their situation is. If I don't have money or if I'm choosing not to give money, what is it to go and buy something to eat or to drink? We eat every day. We drink water, juice, whatever, coffee. Do we help just because? And I know that so many people take advantage. We're real and raw here. We are not going to fake like it doesn't happen and like we aren't aware, because I want you all to be aware, to stay aware. But in the same voice that I tell you that, what can we do? What is it that you and I can do when we're challenged with situations? I one time helped a young man who said that he was hungry. I know that I'm going to eat. And if you're really hungry, that's what I ask you. Are you hungry? You go, you buy food, and they're so very grateful that you did that. One time I had done that, and I was at the gas station, and someone yelled out to me, "Ma'am, ma'am." Didn't know who they were. You got a lot of crazies out here. And when I say crazies, I don't mean emotional or mental. I mean people are crazy because they do things just because they're not in the best interest. So you got to use a little caution. So I wouldn't look up. So he drove and stopped behind me. And he says, "Do you remember me?" No, because I remember yesterday. He got out of his car and hugged me and said, "Remember that day when I was hungry? You gave me something to eat? Remember what you said is there's a place that is hiring. And this place that was hiring, you just show up and they put you to work, literally, here in California." He said, "Ma'am, thank you so much for telling me that because I really did that." Are we challenged to help others just because? See, that was a good experience. There are others like that. But just because we just happen to be there at the right time, a lot of people will say they were at the wrong place at the wrong time. You can be at the right place at the right time, and so it happened to be. That man was affected by acts of kindness. Just because. That could have been anybody. Because people are now doing that as if it is a job. So you really don't know who to help, but if it's called on you, what does your heart tell you to do? Today's podcast is very deep. I want you to think about things such as this. So many people are out to do good things, and so many people are out to do the not so good. Many people hide their problems, but should we play along? The ones who say, "Do you have change to spare? Do you have this?" That's your call. There's a lot of goodness around as well. We think about those whom we want to help. We wish them well. Sometimes we think, how can I help? And here's a thought. Just because you can do something and make it work doesn't mean you should. Sometimes we do things because we reason, well, it's right. Or, well, because I this and I that. So I'm not telling you to do something because you feel obligated. I'm just simply talking about doing good just because. So let's get into it. Doing something. When you think about doing something just because, what do you think about? Sometimes we do things because others. Sometimes we do things because we feel sorry. Sometimes we do things because we're going to get acknowledgement. Sometimes we do things because we're, and you fill in the blanks. I want to ask you, what do you do? What do you do? When do you challenge yourself to do it, as Trish says, because it makes you feel better? When are you challenged? Because sometimes we have very selfish people who may have the means to do it and they choose not to just because. I want you to think about a situation that you have been challenged with, or that a situation that you were put in. Did you do it just because? Or did you do it because someone was looking, or someone was going to give you the superabundant award for being the amazing person of the day? Why you? Just like that man. See, we never ever know why we are called to action. Just because. In everyday life affords an opportunity. Now, I'm not telling you guys to go out and help all the panhandlers, because it has become a job for hire, if you know what I mean. So if you're going out and you're helping all the panhandlers because you heard this podcast today, that is not the idea that I'm trying to convey here. I am, though, trying to convey the idea of the example of the young man. I didn't know that man. I never saw him in my life. I couldn't recall him, but he remembered me. He could have came to the gas station, got his gas, and never said a word to me. But he decided to remind me just because of how it made him feel when I got him a sandwich. One, he was really hungry, and two, he really listened. And when you do that, it is impactful for others. We have now 505 podcasts. If you've listened to any one of them, you can never say that Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast is all about money and this is what we're doing. Trish and I really take this very seriously. So we're not ashamed at all to tell you, If you'd like to donate to us, if you're willing, if your heart moves you, we gladly accept it. If you want to drop off bread, crayons, those are donations. We are going to push for the healing center, no matter how long it takes. We're going to make the community healing center so beautiful, with or without donation, that it's going to transcend. And you know how something attaches itself? Because we've been loyal to Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast, we're determined to get it done so that it starts to transcend to other places. Just because. Now, you've all been so wonderful. I appreciate all of you because you've said nothing bad. And by the way, Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast has inspired Vibe Talk Facing the Lion Healing Center. That's our start. None of you have said anything. You haven't berated us. And it is a free program. We know that we have been challenged with so many things. We had to find a location, a safe location, one that was economically efficient, one that was going to house the people that we want to help, and that's everyone. And don't forget, just because we have an in-person place now, can I let you in on something? Don't forget about video, because you can live anywhere at any time and still get the help. Just because. So wherever you're living, if you're living on the southeast side of Asia and you can get video, we welcome you. If you're in Egypt and you can get video, we welcome you. So you're not left out. We have been so good at helping so many people that we felt that it was time for you guys to know that we don't have any motive of doing this but to help heal communities, people, broken families. And even if there's nothing wrong and you just want to see what we're all about, we got that too. We want you to be able to express. We want you to understand that just because is a very important step. We want you to be able to know that that impacts people as well. So just because, what does it not mean? It means that just because a person has it doesn't mean that they have to give it. Come a little closer to me. I said, what does it not mean? Just because a person has it doesn't mean they have to give it. Understand that. And I want you to think about what you will do just because. It doesn't even have to be pertaining to Vibe Talk or the Healing Center or anything to do with us. But I want you to make a list of 5 things you'd like to do just because. Broaden your horizons. I'd love for you guys to call us. I'd love for you guys to speak up, speak out, because it does involve acts of kindness, acts of loyalty, acts of, I feel great. Today is a day that we must challenge ourselves just because. Just because. No reason without cause. I want you to really grab a hold of that because there's a lot of good that has. Let's challenge ourselves. We'll be right back with Trisha's Treasures. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Facing the lion is always positive. And so I ask you today, as we are going to be facing our lions or challenges of the week, what did you face this week that was challenging? Facing the Lion podcast.
We're back. Yeah. We're going to now give it to Trish for Trish's Treasures.
So, you guys know I always tell a story on my Trisha's Treasures sometimes. So, I recall a situation when I was in 10th grade, and there was someone, a new kid, he came to our school, and I recall me and my sister, we were at the table next to him, and we were sitting with our friends. And I looked behind me and I see him sitting by himself, and I was like, I should go over there. Like, why is he sitting by himself? And I look around and I see nobody else wanting to sit with him. And um so I got up with my sister because she was like, are you scared to go over there or something?" I was, because I'm shy. So I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I'll come with you." And so we go over there with him, and we sit by him, and he's quiet. He was shy, and we were talking to him, and I was like, so how do you like our school so far?" And he was like, "It's cool." And I was asking him where he's from, and he was like, "I'm from Florida." And we were talking and talking, and then the bell rang for lunch to be over, and we got up, and I found out that we were in the same fourth period. And I was like, "Oh, isn't that amazing?" And so I'm standing there in the line waiting on the teacher to come and open the door. He's behind me, and he was like, "I appreciate you guys sitting with me." He was like, "Because nobody was sitting with me. Nobody was talking to me all day." And I was like, "You're welcome." I was like, "No problem." And I had no idea how impactful that was to someone. But him just saying thank you for that, it made me feel great. Like I did something I did something right in my life. So I sat by him not to get that thank you. I did it just because. So, and we became best friends after that. We became best friends, and we got a little distant, but still I appreciate that day. And that's how me and my one of my best friends, that's how we met. And I say that to say, will you do something just because? It is because you're doing it from within, from your heart. It's like something that drives you to do something. Like you risk takers out there, the people that will go skydiving and the people that will ride the scariest roller coasters or go to a haunted house on Halloween. That's something that you're doing just because. And that's how it is when you do something for other people or do something for you. That's important too. Like, if you never give yourself gifts and you always give gifts to everybody else and you never thought to buy something for you, just think about the possibility of doing it just because for yourself. And the just because, and think about what comes after that. Are you doing it just because you deserve it, or are you just doing it because of some other reason? And the reason why I do things just because I have an example. Like I would see my dad when we were at the when we used to live in the projects, he would just buy people food. Like he would just buy people food, and when we were having chicken and pizza and some potato salad, he'll be like, take 3 boxes out there, give it to the kids outside. And I recall my sister on Sunday when church was late. Yeah. And so he left, and my mom was like, you don't have to buy anything for dinner. I'll just try to start dinner and see what we got from there. And so my dad, he took my sister and my brother with him, and they were like, wow, these are a lot of boxes of chicken. This is a lot of food. He was like, yeah, my wife works really hard, and she works hard all week. Like, she makes sure the kids go to school and things like that. And he was like, she deserves it. I'm just doing it so she could take a break. And that brought tears to my eyes because I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And I thought, you know what? He did that. He didn't have to, but he did it just because. And so even if you don't have an example of doing things just because, like we talked about, initiating it is important, because when you do things just because, it has a funny way of coming back to you. I believe that. I don't know if you believe that, people that are watching or listening, but just doing things, what goes around comes around. I believe in that. And last but not least, this is the last story I'm telling you guys. I remember started college, and I remember I had, I'm not going to say the amount of money, but I had it, and I was like, you know what? I don't need this. I can give it to somebody, but I'm shy. I'm not going to walk up to people. I'm not going to say I don't have the ability to do it, but I don't have the courage to do it right now, to walk up to people and just give money. So I decided to do it this way. I wrote an index card, Matthew 7:7. In the Bible, it talks about seek and you shall find, ask, and the doors will be open unto you. So I wrote that Bible verse for that person, and I put the money between the index card and I left it. And so I came back. I think I came back the next day, and I was like, I hope somebody that really needed it took it and really used it for something. And that's what I did just because. And I hope you learn from this podcast today the impact of doing things from the goodness of your heart, from the kindness within your soul, of doing something just because. And if you feel passionate about something and you're thinking, what can I do? Or how can I give back to someone? Sometimes the best thing you can do is just give. That's the best thing you can do. Don't ask what to give, just give. And that's the importance of doing things just because.
That's lion power. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That. So, what is the take home? For me, the take home of today is to talk about people doing things just because. No reason, no rhyme. Just because you felt like it. Just because it's impactful. Just because you are human. That's my take home. That's what I have discovered through me and through other people, the impact. How about you, Trish? What's your take home?
My take home is if I'm doing something just because, and I should do it from my way because I'm doing it from my heart, not copying from other people. And say, for example, if somebody wants to donate, oh, Josephine donated 100, so I should donate 100 too. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that ruins the genuality of doing things. So I will donate what I feel I should donate, not because of what other people do, or show my just because in my special way, because that's what makes it personal and genuine. So that's my take home from here.
Thank you so much. We hope that we are going to impact many people. What we'd like for you to start doing is challenging yourself for the challenges that are to be had, such as this one, challenging yourself to do something just because. And again, it doesn't have to do with Vibe Talk or the Healing Center because I love what Trish said that's so powerful. When you're doing something on your own, it's a personal touch. But if you do it because someone else is doing it, it loses its genuinity. It loses its coming from the heart. Now you got to do it because you heard it today. We only want you to be moved through a heart. We found a place, a location that you can send whatever you would like. You can donate. You can drop off water because there's going to be people. There's already been people coming in and out of Vibe Talk. We had someone that just came to see what it was all about, and I sat down with them and talked with them. Vibe, our the Healing Center is open. You have an address uh, to a public place, and you have a way to be able to help someone help themselves. And that's what the Healing Center has been all about. You're going to start seeing the QR code because a lot of people want to know what are we about. If doors are after hours, you're going to be able to use your camera to go straight to the QR code information and it'll lead you there. We want to hear from you guys. Our 503-8993 will no longer be connected to Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast or Healing Center or Vibe Talk After Dark, which we will have Saturday, which is tomorrow, 8 p.m. or 8:30. We want you to know all about it. We are going to be celebrating the 7Ds tomorrow. And yes, Trish, we are going to do the rewind. Uh, I thought a great way to break into 2025 is to do the 70s. So if you like the 70s and you want a dedication or you want to hear a certain song, we will play that for you at Vibe Talk after. I want to thank each and every one of you for doing what you do just because, and for you tuning in to Vibe Talk Facing the Lion podcast just because. Uh, we have now 3 more episodes or podcast listening. And that's what I would like for you guys to go to the podcast just because, to go to YouTube just because. And if you want to find us live, the only way to find us or to know when we're on is to follow our page. I guarantee you, we don't miss a beat. Thanks everybody for a beautiful week. Please remember to keep in mind there's still so many people without homes. Okay. I just talked to a very dear friend of mine last night. They have somewhere to stay, and I'm so grateful for them. So, in talking with ones, some are still displaced. So, this fire is far from over. And if we all could do me a favor, please let's pray for rain. I have never wanted rain to come so badly. Pray for rain because this fire has torn up my city and other people's cities. So imagine that. Keep them in mind. Be grateful for the firefighters today. If you see them and they don't live in your city, if you're in the Middle East, would you say thank you just because? Because they've had to risk their lives. We appreciate them and all the emergency responders. Challenge yourself or be the challenge. It's finally Friday here at Black Talk Facing the Lion podcast. Thank you and have a great weekend, everybody. For now.
Facing